Very good evening and welcome everyone to the webinar. I am Venugopal. I lead the design team at Saint Gobain, and I'm also part of Glass Academy as an expert. And I'm also joined by my colleague Mr. Manoj, who handles the fire-rated technical support for India. And today's session will be covering about the different types of glass and what are the applications, etc. So I'm starting the presentation. I hope everyone can see my screen. So let's start with the manufacturing of the basic float glass. So the basic raw materials of glass are silica, dolomite, calcite, and soda ash. And one major ingredient is the broken glass itself, which is called cullet. So all these raw materials are mixed in batches, and the first stage of the glass production is the furnace. So the furnace is where all these raw materials are molten at a temperature of 1650 degrees Celsius. And this molten glass then moves on to the next stage, which is called as the float bath. So everyone will be wondering why it is called as float glass, right? So here inside this float bath, we have a bath of tin, molten tin, which has a higher density than the molten glass. So what happens? The molten glass will float on the molten tin because it has a lower density, and it forms a natural thickness of approximately 5.5 mm. And from here we can actually increase or decrease the thickness using special equipment called as top rolls. And we can even manufacture from 4 mm till up to 12 mm glass for clear glass, and for tinted glass even up to 8 mm we can actually manufacture in different variations. And this glass, once it crosses the float, it will exit at a temperature of 600 degrees Celsius. So from 600 degrees Celsius, slowly we will be cooling the glass to a room temperature, and that is when we will cut the glass. So if you start from the furnace, the next stage is the float, and the next stage will be the cutting line, and next stage will be the stacking area inside the warehouse. So this is the entire process, and at the end of this process what you get is called as a annealed glass. Why it is called annealing? I told you that the temperature at the exit of the float is 600 degrees Celsius. From that temperature to bring down to the room temperature, slowly we will be cooling down. So this cooling process is called as annealing, and hence the glass that is made is called as annealed glass, right? So I move on to the next slide. So this is the float glass. So this float glass can be either clear, extra clear, or tinted. And on this we can actually do some value additions. What are the value additions? When it comes to the facade glass, you will have to control the heat and light coming inside. So we will have to reduce the heat coming inside by doing some special coating. So this coating can be a value addition, point number one. Second point will be increasing the strength of the glass. How do you increase the strength of the glass? By using a process called as toughening. So this toughening will improve the strength of the glass, so that when the glass will break, the breakage pattern will be different. Point number one. Point number two, the glass will take a extra load. It will be more stronger than the normal annealed glass. So this is the other type of processing. What else we can do? We can make it into a double glaze unit. We can do a ceramic frit, and then we can even bend the glass depending on the application. So these are all the different processing that can be done. Apart from this, what are all the different value additions we can do is we can even do a lacquered coating on the glass and use it for interiors. There is a special process to convert glass into a fire rated glass as well. So here I'm just explaining about the different products. One is the base glass, so which can be a clear glass or a tinted glass. Then is the coating, which can be an online coating or an offline coating depending on the performance you need. And it can be a single glaze or a double glaze unit, or it can be a fully toughened, heat strengthened, laminated, and ceramic fritted. These are all the different basic types of glass. Next we go to the other applications. Till now we saw about the facade. Next we go to the other applications. For interiors, it can be coated with silver and made into a mirror. You can make it into a lacquered glass by applying a curtain wall coating of a particular color. That is also possible. And fire rated glass, my colleague Mr. Manoj will cover in detail. So these are the three different types of fire rated glass he will cover in detail. The next is other advanced application. It includes bulletproof, blast proof glazing. So these are all require a special type of processing to make it. And we also have a lot of advanced products like dynamic glazing. On the switch of the button, it will change its light transmission and solar factor and become a different tint. So that is also possible. Like there can be four standard stages: 60%, 18%, 6%, or 1%, depending on the climate and the light available. It can also change its tint automatically connected to a BMS. That is also possible. And there is also a technology called switchable glass, where inside your conference room you can switch on and it will become translucent, and you switch off, it becomes transparent. That is also possible. So these are all different types of glasses, just like a glimpse I am giving. It's already covered by the previous speaker. So coming to the properties of glass. So the properties of glass, the different types are annealed glass, heat strengthened, and fully toughened. Annealed glass breaks like knives, like it is very sharp. So if you temper the annealed glass, there are two possible outcomes. One is it can be a heat strengthened glass, or it can be a fully toughened glass. When it is a heat strengthened glass, it breaks into a large islands, like large pieces, but still it will not break like small fragments. So for you to achieve that small fragment breakage, you have to fully toughen it. So this is the different breakage pattern. In terms of strength, if annealed glass has a strength of X, your heat strengthened glass has a strength of 2x, and your fully toughened glass has a strength of between 3 to 4x. So that is the amount of strength the different types of glasses have. So now that you know what are the types of glasses, where to use what type of glass, that is also a question that comes to your mind. So here we refer to a standard called NBC 2016, the National Building Code, which gives us some guidelines. When you have a particular application, what glass to go for. So here there are some factors to consider. One is the height of fall. If the glass breaks and fall, what is the height of that fall? Second is the height of sill. How much is the sill level you are providing inside your building, right? So these two factors actually determine what is the type of glass to be used in your building. So first let us see here. Your height of sill is more than 0.75 meter. Then you can use any glass. But if your height of fall, next slide I'm just going, when your height of fall is more than 1.5 meters, then you will have to go for a different type of glass. So here my height of sill is also less, and my height of fall is more than 1.5 meter. And in the other case also, the height of sill is less than 0.75 meter, and your height of fall is more than 1.5 meter. So here safety glass is mandatory. You will have to go for a safety glass, which is a fully toughened glass. In the previous cases, since you have both the height of sill as 0.75 and height of fall less than 1.5, you can go for any glazing, no problem. Here, since you don't provide the height of sill, point number one, and the height of fall is more, since the risk of fall is more, here you have to go for a safety glass, which can be a fully toughened glass, and lamination is preferred. And on the right side, you are seeing different cases, like if it is a skylight, or if it's a horizontal application, or if it's a railing, laminated glass is mandated by our National Building Code. So these are the different applications and the guidelines from National Building Codes. Just to put it in terms of some case studies, I have just made it like a small cases, so that we can understand it better what is given in NBC. So here three factors we'll have to consider. First is the floor of the building, which will give you an idea of height of fall. Second is the height of the window sill, which will give you an understanding how much is the protection given for the window. Third is the glazing angle, whether it is a horizontal or a vertical glazing or an inclined glazing. So case 1, your building is, your glass window is going to be on the ground floor, and you have a sill level of 0.75 meter, which is 750 mm. So here you can go for any glass. As I told earlier, annealed, heat strengthened, fully toughened, laminated, anything you can go for, depending on the the panel size and depending on the acoustic requirements, you can go for a required thickness. The next case, still the ground floor, but you don't provide the height of sill. So here you will have to go for a fully toughened glass. That is what is the second case. Even if you are in the ground floor, your height of sill is less than 0.75 meter. So you will have to go for a toughened glass. Third case, you are having a high-rise building, which obviously means that your height of fall is more than 1.5 meter. Here, tempering is mandatory. Fully toughened is minimum. Lamination is preferred. It's for extra safety and other factors. Lamination is preferred, but fully toughened is minimum requirement as per NBC 2016. And case 4, if you're having a slope glazing, or you're having a inclined facade, or you're having a skylight, or you're having railings and balustrades, all these applications, lamination is mandatory because safety becomes a concern over here. So these are all the the recommendations from NBC. So this is about facades. Next we come to the interiors. So when glass, where all you can apply in your interiors, you can in commercial spaces, you can use it in cabins, conference rooms, as partitions. In residences also there are a lot of applications like mirrors, lacquered glass, etc. What are the other areas? You can use it in washrooms, partitions, lift lobbies, kitchens, etc. These are some of the examples where glass can be used in the interiors. And when it comes to interior range of products, we have a process called as lacquered glass. So this lacquer is nothing but a curtain wall coating of an enamel, which gets coated on the glass, and it is a permanent coating on the glass. How is it different from back painted glasses? It has a better opacity, and it is also having very low VOC. And the uniformity is a very important thing. Like if you see a back painted glass versus a lacquered glass, the uniformity of the coating becomes very better in your lacquered glass. And there are multiple shades available. There are manufacturers have some standard shades available, and multiple options are available. You can choose depending on your design intent and use it. And one added advantage is it is environmental friendly product. Why? It is free from formaldehyde, VOC and lead, which actually impacts your indoor air quality. So just some examples of applications. Here you can see that the wall paneling is done with a white lacquered glass, and it just gives you a sophisticated look and finish to your wall cladding, column cladding, lift lobby cladding. Wherever you have a surface which you want to show it in as per your design intent with a particular color, you can also think of a lacquered glass instead of going for a paint, etc. This is another example. So over to my colleague Manoj, who will be taking you through the fire rated solutions inside a building. Over to you, Manoj.
Yeah. So, hello all. This is Manoj from Retrotech Saint Gobain. I'm taking care of the technical part with respect to fire-rated and high-security glasses. And today, the agenda for the presentation it will be about the different types of fire-rated glasses, how are they classified, and what are the applications of these fire-rated glasses in buildings as per the National Building Code of India. So, going into the presentation, as we all know, in building, when it comes to fire safety, we have two types of fire protection. So one is what we call active fire protection. And in active fire protection, we use components like alarms, smoke detectors, sprinklers, and other fire extinguishers. So this is what we call active fire protection system. And the main objective of using active fire protection system, it is to detect and extinguish the fire. So that is the main objective of using active fire protection. Whereas coming to passive system it is the use of integral fire-rated doors, walls, and partitions. And the main objective of passive fire protection it is to attempt to contain fire and slow the spread of fire through the use of fire resistance walls, floors, and doors. So that is what we call passive fire protection system. And also in building fire safety, education of the occupants also plays a major role. And this is because if there is no clear knowledge on how to evacuate the building, there might be a panic in case of fire. So education of building occupants also plays a major role in fire. So glass as such comes under the use of passive fire protection system because glass can be made into walls, doors, or ceilings, anything it is possible. Whereas also in modern aesthetics, the modern aesthetics call for usage of more glass in buildings. And wherever fire safety is required, it is also possible to use fire-rated glass in these areas. So now coming to the classification, any fire-rated material, the global standard classifies a fire-rated material as three types. So this is what we call integrity E, integrity and radiation control EW, integrity and insulation EI. So these are the three classifications by which all the fire-rated materials are possible. Now just a brief overview of what these three classifications they mean is coming to integrity E. So to classify a fire-rated material as integrity, It has to satisfy the basic criteria, that is, when this material is subjected to fire, it should remain stable, it should not develop any cracks or openings, and it should completely contain fire and smoke inside the point of origin. So an integrated electrical material should contain flames and smoke, and it should not develop any cracks or openings. So this is what we call integrity. But again, when it comes to fire control, stopping flames and smoke might be just one part, because whenever this material, an integrated material, it is exposed to fire, it starts to heat up. When fire is exposed to this integrity rated material, this material starts to heat up, and after beyond a certain point, this material starts heating up, and it will be hot enough to emit enough radiation that the heat of the fire, it is getting transferred to the other side indirectly. And if there are any combustible materials which is on the other side of fire, these combustible materials might be starting to heat up because of this radiation, and beyond a certain point they will start to ignite. So this is what we call indirect combustion. Without any direct contact with the flames, the materials on the other side, they get spontaneously ignited just because of the radiation. So we need better protection. That is where integrity and radiation control comes inside. So EW, or integrity and radiation control, basically is an extension of integrity. Whereas this material, it should satisfy all the conditions for integrity, and apart from that, this material should also control certain amount of heat which is transferring from one side to other. So integrity plus radiation control, EW, basically stops the flames and smoke, and it also controls the amount of heat that is getting transferred from one side to other. The third and major classification, most advanced classification, what we call integrity and insulation. So basically, integrity and insulation means the material should be able to completely satisfy integrity, which means it should basically stop the flames and smoke. And apart from that, it should also completely cut off all the heat which is getting transferred from one side to other. This is what we call integrity and complete insulation, whereas the material completely stops the heat. So just a quick overview: an integrity rated material is a material which can stop only the flames and smoke. It does not control heat at all. Coming to integrity and radiation control, it is able to stop the flames and smoke. It is also able to control a part of the radiation which is coming to the other side. Coming to integrity and insulation, this material is able to stop all the flames, smoke, and it should also be able to completely cut off the heat. So these are the three major classifications when it comes to fire-rated materials. So coming to fire-rated glass, how a fire-rated glass is designed so as to achieve this radiation control and integrity. So basically, these types of fire-rated glasses, they are specially laminated glasses, and as you can see in this picture, it consists of two toughened glasses which is separated by a layer of intumescent gel. So when this laminated glass, specially laminated glass, it is exposed to fire, the face of toughened glass, which is facing the fire, it will crack and fall off. This will expose the gel to the fire, and this gel, when it is exposed to fire, it will start expanding and it will create a hard layer of foam. So this foam will cut off the heat which is transferring from one side to other, thereby protecting the other part of the glass, and it also is able to control the amount of heat which is getting transferred from one side to other. So depending upon the number of glasses and the number of layers of gel which we use, it is able to achieve integrity and radiation control, and we can also achieve integrity and complete insulation. So this is how a fire-rated glass is able to completely protect from fire, whereas also getting some heat control and complete insulation. So now we know how a fire-rated glass performs in fire, and how it is designed, and what are the different classifications for fire-rated glass. We'll go at a short discussion about the National Building Code of India, wherever these fire-rated materials are applied in commercial buildings, particularly specifically for commercial buildings. So as we all know, the new version of National Building Code of 2017, and the Part 4 specifically talks about the fire and life safety aspects. So any building, irrespective of its type, it has to have certain general requirements to follow the Part 4 of fire and life safety. So these are the two main clauses which is given in the Part 4 with respect to fire separation. So the clause 4.2.7, it says that for all non-ventilated areas, fire doors with 120 minutes fire protection shall be provided, particularly at the entrance of lift lobby and staircase. So in buildings, whenever there's a shaft-like area, for example, a staircase or lift lobby, the entrance to this lift lobby or staircase, it has to be protected with 120 minutes fire-rated doors and partitions. Also, if any building uses external staircase as a means of exit, Then if there is any window which is located 3 meters next to this external staircase, then the window has to be 60 minutes fire rated. This is given in the clause for external walls. So these are few examples where fire rated glass doors and partitions are being used to compartmentalize internal staircases. So the top picture you can see the fire rated glass doors and partitions, they cover the internal staircase. And also in the second picture which you can see, it is an external window which is provided next to an external staircase, and this window shall be 60 minutes fire rated. So these are some more examples of use of fire rated glass doors and partitions covering internal staircases. And also this is a typical example of a lift lobby where a fire door and partition is separating the lift lobby and the interiors of the building. So here in this case the fire door and the partition, it shall be 120 minutes fire rated as per the National Building Code of India. So this is the clause which is given as such in the NBC, which mentions the fire rating requirement for lift lobby and staircases. So now coming particularly to commercial and educational buildings, these are the typical areas in commercial buildings which require fire separation. So as we saw before, the two main areas are lift lobby and the fire exit staircases. And also we have other areas like refuge areas, car parking, fire command center, electrical and shaft rooms. So these are given in the clauses which is provided below. You can refer back to NBC for more detail regarding these clauses. So coming to refuge areas in buildings, all commercial buildings which are exceeding more than 24 meters in height, they have to be provided with a refuge area. So a refuge area is a location where people can come and safely take refuge when there's a fire inside the building and people are not able to use any exit methods like staircases or something. So to protect the refuge area, a fire door and partition shall be provided to separate it from the rest of the building. So for commercial buildings, the first refuge area shall be provided at 24th meter, and thereafter every 15th meter we shall have a refuge area. So this is a typical application of a refuge area where you can see a 120-minute fire rated glass door and partition which is separating the building interiors from the refuge area. So also for commercial buildings which have very high floor area, as per the National Building Code of India, for sprinkled buildings, business buildings, if the floor area exceeds more than 3000 meters square, then fire rated compartmentation shall be given. So this is to make sure that whenever there is a fire in a particular compartment, it is not spreading to the adjacent compartment and people are easily able to evacuate through one of the adjacent compartments. So this is the concept of passive fire protection, where we are keeping the fire in source of origin and preventing it from spreading from one area to other. So for business buildings, whenever the floor area is exceeding more than 3000 meters square, then it shall be compartmentalized with 120 minutes fire rated doors and partitions. So coming to facade fire rating, as per the National Building Code of India, for facade, it is possible to have a fully toughened glass in a non-combustible assembly for facades of buildings, provided that there is a set of sprinklers which are located within 600 millimeters from the glass facade, and it is fully providing coverage to the glass. So we can have a toughened glass in a non-combustible assembly, provided there is a sprinkler system which is getting installed next to the facade, no more than 600 millimeters. And whenever there's a fire, the sprinkler system is directly spraying water on the glass and protecting the system. Whereas it is not possible to provide sprinkler system, then the facade of the building has to be 60 minutes fire rating as per the table given below. So coming to other areas in buildings which require fire protection, we have car parking. So if a car parking forms any integral part of the commercial building, then the separation between this car parking and the building entrance, it has to be done with 120 minutes fire rated doors and partitions. Also, all commercial buildings, they have a fire command center from which BMS and evacuation operations are taking place. So this fire command center, when it is constructed, it has to be constructed with 120 minutes fire rated doors and partitions so that it is separated from the rest of the building. So that is all about the requirements given in NBC for commercial buildings with respect to fire separations. And thank you.
So thank you, Manoj. That was a very interesting presentation. And for the benefit of all the audience, you can refer to part 4 of NBC for regarding fire rated glass. And you can also refer to part 6 section 8 for the content which I covered regarding the glass for human impact safety. So I hope it was an interesting session. We also have a Q&A session after this, so you can also post your queries and we'll be open to answer it. Thank you so much for attending.